Joining us on the program right now, a friend of the Terry family, Lana Domino. And Lana, thank you for coming on the program tonight.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
It's good talking to you again. I know that the parents of Brian put out a statement today. I want to go ahead and do you have a copy? Do you want to go ahead and read it?
I don't have a copy. I saw it already on the news. They posted it as to what was said, and his attorneys released a statement too as well.
Okay, if you don't mind, I just want to read this. I read the Attorney General's statement earlier today, so I at least want to read the
Sure.
statement of the Terry family. Attorney General Eric Holder's refusal to fully disclose the documents associated with Operation Fast and Furious and President Obama's assertion of executive privilege serves to compound this tragedy. It denies the Terry family and the American people the truth. Our son, Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, was killed by members of a Mexican drug cartel armed with weapons from this failed Justice Department gun trafficking investigation. For more than 18 months, we have been asking our federal government for justice and accountability. The documents sought by the House Oversight Committee and associated with Operation Fast and Furious should be produced and turned over to the committee. Our son lost his life protecting this nation, and it is very disappointing that we are now faced with an administration that seems more concerned with protecting themselves rather than revealing the truth behind Operation Fast and Furious. And you know, Lana, I will tell you, today was really the first day that the mainstream media has paid a ton of attention to Fast and Furious, and I did not hear the name of your friend Brian Terry mentioned all that often.
No, it was more about President Obama exerting his executive privilege. I think that people are in shock that, okay, most presidents don't do this that often. And he made a promise that, I think he stated something about George Bush, that, he's always exerting his executive privilege to cover up for Karl Rove and for every cover-up that there is. And, he wasn't going to have his administration be like that type of administration. And here he is doing the same thing. So I guess he never really stuck to his promise, did he?
Yeah, we've actually got that. We've got that clip. Can we play that again? The clip of President Obama in was it 2008, I believe it was, on the campaign trail, talking about executive privilege and his view of the executive privilege and what he would do if he were president. This is from CNN, by the way.
I think that the issue of executive power and executive privilege is one that is subject to abuse. And in an Obama presidency, what you will see will be a sufficient respect for law and the co-equal branches of government that I hope we don't find ourselves in a situation in which we would be having aides being subpoenaed for what I think everybody acknowledges is some troublesome information out there.
Well, I got to tell you, Lana, I mean, it appears like this meets the criteria, troublesome information.
No, to a T. He's definitely eating his words. There's no question.
Yeah, and so, again, I mean, I think it's a legitimate question that the American people are, I think we're still allowed to ask this question. Why? Why claim executive privilege? Why do it now when the subpoena was issued back in October of last year? And what are you hiding? What don't you want us to know?
Exactly. If there's nothing to hide, they wouldn't need to exert an executive privilege. And for Eric Holder to ask Daryl Issa, okay, well, I'll do a briefing. Okay, well, you've already done hearings.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, I don't remember, I don't recall, or it's his own interpretation, because Mr. Holder has his own dictionary that's not like the rest of ours. So he's got his own interpretations for everything. Who would do a briefing? And he's going to supply some of the documents that he thinks are appropriate to what is being requested, and to drop the case. I mean, does he really think that this man is that unintelligent? Who would do that? I mean,
right.
I think we can. The American people wouldn't do that, let alone an elected official for the Oversight Committee who runs the Oversight Committee. He's just doing his job. So for everybody that wants to say this is political, it's racial, I'm really saddened by Mr. Cummings, who promised Mrs. Terry that, he's going to see this through, all the way through until there is justice and everybody involved is, brought to justice. And he is now siding with Eric Holder. And then the Democrat, what was the rep today? She said she was offended that Daryl Issa, would refer to Eric Holder as a liar. Well, let me see. He's been caught 1, 2, 3 times lying under oath, changing the story,
Right.
resubmitting documents. He call it like you see it.
I mean, yeah, they've had to retract documents. As a matter of fact, he had to retract a statement that he made just last week about former Attorney General Mukasey being briefed on Operation Wide Receiver. That was Representative Maloney who was so offended by those statements.
Right. So it's like, I'm saddened by the fact that, I thought by now that the Democrats, that there would be some that would step forward and do the right thing. At the end of the day, you're an elected official who was elected by the people to do the right thing and stand up for the people. And I get it. It's an election year, and you're sitting there with cameras in front of you, and you're a Democrat, and if you don't vote no, it only takes one person with courage to stand up to do the right thing. You had ATF agents that stood up to do the right thing. That took a lot of courage, but they did it.
Yeah.
And that not one Democrat has had the courage to stand up and do the right thing. So they make it more based about politics, but it's really not. This is not about Republican. This is not about Democrat. They're making the politicians themselves. The Democrats are making it political. This has been going on for way too long to be political. And if we don't protect the people that serve our country, it's not just Brian Terry. Jaime Zapata's family's in the same situation. How is this fair to those two families to sit there? Their chances to grieve were stolen. They're lied to. They still don't understand, okay, well, how did these guns, where did they come from? Who signed for the program? Somebody signed. How do we know a year and a half later we don't know who signed for the program? Lanny Brewer's already admitted that he knew.
Right.
So when I hear random people say, well, the ATF already admitted and there's no higher ups. Well, Lanny Brewer's already admitted it. Bill Newell's having conversations with people that are higher ups. No one has been fired. So when Eric Holder says, when I get the IG's report, I will make the appropriate adjustments. What do you mean appropriate adjustments? Lanny Brewer's still working. Dennis Burke resigned himself. Jason Weinstein, he transferred because he already knew he was going to be fired, if not, indicted possibly. So he already left. Who is he firing? Hope McAllister? Nothing's done to her either. Who's been fired by Mr. Holder? What's been done? Nothing.
Well, exactly. And, this is one of the things that Holder said and has continued to say that, we've made these personnel changes. Look, shuffling the deck chairs is not making personnel changes. Nobody, as you say, nobody's been fired. Nobody lost their job. He obliquely referred to Dennis Burke, the former U.S. attorney leaving. Look, he praised Dennis Burke when Burke resigned. He didn't bring up Fast and Furious. Dennis Burke got a going away party. Again, that's not suffering the any repercussions for Fast and Furious.
No, the only people that suffered were the ATF agents that were whistleblowers, John Dodson and John Casa and Peter Forticelli. They all got, messed with. And, Vince Cefalu. Anybody who stood up to do the right thing has been nothing but messed with by the DOJ and punished by the ATF for standing up and doing the right thing. Those are the people that, there's nothing there to protect them, protect their jobs. And the people that are all doing the right thing, we're just going to promote them and transfer them. But it's really not a promotion. It's just we're transferring them to a different area. It's like Border Patrol. Okay, Border Patrol came out a year and a half later to write a letter for Eric Holder to resign. Where have you been for a year and a half?
Yeah.
So them writing a letter for a year and a half, me speaking, my opinion, does absolutely nothing for me. Where have you been for a year and a half? They were there that night. They didn't leave his body. They know what happened. There's nobody that's come forward in Border Patrol either, Cam, which is really sad.
Well, I do know, Alana, we talked with the head of the National Border Patrol Council who is calling for Holder to resign. I know that the council obviously not happy about the invoking of executive privilege. But you're right. I know that, Brian's fellow Border Patrol agents, there are some folks who could shed some light. I hope that if there are, that they would come forward.
So do I. It's like when I see that, it reminds me of here, ABC doesn't report, NBC doesn't report. All of a sudden today they reported. A year and a half later, really? A year and a half later, now you're going to report because the president, exerted his executive privilege?
Right.
You really haven't been reporting this whole entire time.
No, they haven't. And look, I think they're going to try to make this. I don't think we'll see a lot of coverage tomorrow. I think next week when the contempt vote is held, if the contempt vote is held, we'll see coverage that day. But they're going to try to make it as much of a one-day story as they can. And I think they're doing that for a reason, because they know just how damning and damaging this story really is.
No, it should. This story should be getting way more coverage than it does. And no disregards to Trayvon Martin's family, and I hope justice prevails and the truth comes out in that case. But here's a boy that was killed. Don't know the circumstances. Don't know the facts to everything. But they had a march, and within days of that march, you had the president speak out, you had Eric Holder speak out, and you had an indictment within days after that march. Within days. Here we have an American hero who died serving his country, a government program that's covering up his death, and nobody wants to speak out about it. Mr. Obama doesn't want to speak out about it. Eric Holder has a hard time even saying his name, even in the hearings. And march, nobody's marched to fight to get justice for Brian Terry. But we're going to see if we can change that. Let's see if we can change that.
All right.
Get the people to wake up. The American people are the only voice that these dead heroes have. So if we as Americans, like yourself, you talk about it every day and you put the facts out there to the people to educate the American people, if we as Americans don't stand up and fight for justice for Brian Terry and Jaime Zapata, who's going to do it, Cam?
Well, absolutely.
Who's going to do it? If we just sit by and watch the news and listen to the radio, what's going to happen? Nothing. Election year is going to come, and all they're doing is trying to prolong it, and Obama's trying to get reelected. If we all just sit by, there's nothing that's going to change anything. There's nothing.
Lana, I'm so glad you could come on the program tonight, and I want to have you back next week after the House vote, which again we assume is going to take place unless the administration reverses course here. But really, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight, and please give our best to the Terry family, will you?
Will do. Thanks, Cam. Thank you for covering it. Without you, we wouldn't be as far as we are today.
Well, thank you for that, Lana. We're not going to stop anytime soon. I can promise you that.